Scenario-based learning is an educational method that places learners in a real world or simulated situations that require them to apply knowledge and make decisions as they will act in actual practice. Some key characteristics of scenario-based learning are that it's immersive. The learning is immersive through realistic and context-rich in scenarios. The contexts are provided to students and they have to think how they will act in this type of scenarios, and this encourage problem solving and the critical thinking and decision making skills. How I mentioned before, these have to improve to students to make decisions, and it promotes experimental and experiential learning by engaging them to an active participation. This means that students have to participate a lot in the class and during the class for make their knowledge according to the time. And now we are going to talk about some key authors and influencers of scenario-based learning. And one of the important authors of SBL is David Merrill. He's known for his work on instructional design and problem solving based learning, which laid the foundation of SBL. Also, we have this author that is John Dewey, and he was an early advocate of experiential learning. And Dewey's principles influenced the development of scenario-based learning approaches, and we have Roger Schank. He developed the concept of learning by doing, and he argued that the importance of realistic scenarios in learning. And the last one is Howard Gardner, that he's known for his theory of multiple intelligences, and this is applied in scenario-based learning because all these different intelligences have been applied to SBL to tailor the scenarios for students. And now we are going to explain some theoretical foundations of scenario-based learning. One of them is constructivism, and this is by Piaget and Vygotsky. And it says that learning is most effective when learners actively construct knowledge from a real-world context. Also, we have experiential learning by Kolb, and it says that knowledge is created through the transformation of experiences. Both of them talk about how works the experiences with the learning. The first one says that students have to be related to that type of scenario, and also it says or it explains the importance because we can teach something that students doesn't have in view before. And experiential learning is about how the experiences are important in the classes because students have to develop so many activities and so important development that they have to done before in the classes that they have passed. And now some key elements of scenario-based learning are the first one is contextual learning, and this means that learners are presented with scenarios that mirror real world challenges or situations. For example, in mathematics, when learners are in a situation that they have to go buy something in a store and they have to pay with bills and they have to receive change, and so that situation makes them to think about how they will do in their real life. Also, we have active engagement. This means that learners are required to make decisions to solve problems and reflect on their actions within the scenario. Also, we have feedback and reflection, and this means that the feedback is continuous. By the passing of the class is provided to guide the students to the process and with opportunities for learners to reflect on their decisions and outcomes. Also, we have collaboration, and this means that many scenarios are developed with teamwork, with others, with the classmates, and they have to work with them for solve the problem. And now some scenarios for activities for scenario-based learning. It could be, for example, healthcare training. In this case, how I mentioned before, they have to simulate a role play. Maybe could be a situation where someone has to be maybe the doctor, the paramedic, or the nurse, and someone has to be the patient. And then in this interaction, they have to act as they would act as a nurse or a doctor, and how they will act as a patient. Maybe it's more easy for act as a patient because I think everybody has to be in minimum at once of our lives in a hospital, and maybe it could be more difficult to be a doctor or to be a nurse because we don't even know how they talk or how they treat to patients, but that's the real problem in that situation. They have to act and they have to think. That is why they use the critical thinking. And also, for example, we can use soft skills development, and in this case this means that there is a role play with scenarios where learners practice negotiation, conflict resolution, or customer service skills. For example, it could be that, as I mentioned before, in mathematics they have to go and buy something in a store, and they have to act as a vendor, and they have to act as the person that is buying something. And now we are going to talk about some benefits of use scenario-based learning in teaching. And the first one is improved decision-making skills. This means that learners develop the ability to analyze situations, consider options, and make informed decisions. Also, we have increased rotation. This means learning in context improves rotation because the scenarios are often more related to their theoretical knowledge. And also we have real world application, and the scenarios simulate real world challenges, helping the learners bridge the gap between theory and practice. And they have also engagement and motivation. This is very important because students feel better in situations that they already know, and they already know that they will develop after the school. The interactive nature of SBL boosts the learner's engagement and intrinsic motivation. And now the conclusions are: scenario-based learning is a powerful pedagogical approach that immerses learners in real-life situations and fostering active participation and critical thinking. Also, it draws from constructivism and experiential learning theories, offering a dynamic and hands-on approach to education, effective for a range of fields from healthcare to business. It supports like decision making, collaboration, and problem solving. So the effectiveness of SBL lies in its ability to make a learning relevant, engaging, and directive applied to real-world context.